These are the stories making the headlines at this hour. South Korea fell short of winning the bid to host the 2030 World Expo, with candidate city Busan losing out to Saudi Arabia's Riyadh. The government vows to continue developing the diplomatic network built during the campaign, possibly eyeing the 2035 World Expo bid. Tensions rise on the Korean peninsula as North Korea is arming its soldiers at the inter-Korean border in its latest move to nullify the military agreement with the South. South Korea warns of retaliation should the North take any provocative actions. More grim figures on South Korea's population crisis. The number of newly born babies saw the biggest drop for any month of September, with the number of marriages also hitting a record low for that month. Good afternoon. South Korea fell short of winning the bid to host the 2030 World Expo, with candidate city Busan losing out to Saudi Arabia's Riyadh. The government is possibly eyeing another bid for the 2035 World Expo. Our Kim Jung-sil has our top story.
Saudi Arabia's capital city Riyadh will host the 2030 World Expo. Riyadh won 119 votes in the first round of voting against Busan's 29 votes and 17 votes for Rome. With the Saudi capital claiming more than two-thirds of the votes from the 165 participating countries, the host was decided without the need for a runoff vote. The South Korean government solemnly accepted the result in the crushing defeat.
I sincerely apologize for not being able to return the support people have given us, and I feel a heavy sense of responsibility.
The Prime Minister added he will further develop the diplomatic assets gained from visiting more than 180 countries as part of the campaign to host a global mega event in South Korea's second-largest city of Busan. Representatives from the southern city were disappointed at the result, but said the city would actively consider making a bid for the World Expo event in 2035. Pundits had said Busan's bid was already a long shot, considering Riyadh had begun a substantial marketing campaign a year ahead of South Korea, with Busan only joining the campaign in the summer of last year. Experts from Busan's campaign said the astronomical amount of capital available to Saudi enabled its delegation to offer direct and immediate aid solutions to voter countries, which might have helped the result. Even though South Korea tasted the bitterness of defeat, experts added the 17-month-long international bidding process would give know-how and create opportunities for future market development. The World Expo can take place for up to 6 months and has a legacy of creating economic benefits and jobs, with tens of millions of visitors from all around the world attending. The most recent World Expo took place in Dubai between October 2021 and March 2022. The next World Expo will take place in Osaka in 2025. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
Over in Gaza, Hamas has released 12 more hostages during the extended ceasefire with Israel. While the two sides could further extend the pause, there were reports of clashes in violation of the truce deal. Lee Seung-jae has the latest.
On the first day of the two-day extended ceasefire on Tuesday, Hamas released 12 more hostages, including 10 Israelis and 2 Thai nationals. According to the International Committee of the Red Cross, it successfully facilitated the release and transfer of 12 hostages out of Gaza via the Rafah crossing with Egypt. In exchange, 30 Palestinians were released from Israeli prisons, including 15 women and 15 minors. According to Israeli media outlets including Haaretz and the Times of Israel on Tuesday, Israel and Hamas could potentially agree to extend the ceasefire by a further 2 days to December 2nd. The reports indicate that the two sides could agree to an extension under the same conditions as the existing deal. Israeli authorities have not confirmed the report, but said that they're reviewing the matter. And amid raised hopes of a continued pause in fighting, Israel reported clashes between its military and the Palestinian militant group. According to the Israel Defense Forces, troops were injured in an attack by Hamas in northern Gaza. The IDF said 3 explosives were detonated in 2 locations in the northern Gaza Strip, which constitutes a violation of the ceasefire agreement. However, Hamas countered that the IDF violated the ceasefire agreement first, adding that the clash was a response to a clear violation of the ceasefire agreement. Meanwhile, small quantities of fuel have arrived in northern Gaza. According to the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs on Tuesday, other relief supplies supported by international organizations, including water, ready-to-eat food, and medical supplies, also began arriving in the northern part of the Gaza Strip. However, international relief organizations point out that the current supply of aid entering the Gaza Strip falls short of what is needed. 이승재, Arirang News.
Washington has responded to North Korea's claims that its military spies satellite took photos of key U.S. government and military facilities by saying there are plenty of images of the White House and the Pentagon already available online. Speaking to reporters on Tuesday, U.S. Department of Defense spokesperson Patrick Ryder shrugged off the North's claims. Earlier this week, Pyongyang said its spy satellite had also taken images of facilities in Virginia, including Norfolk Naval Station and Newport News Shipyard. However, experts say they are skeptical of the quality of the images, as the regime has not yet released the photos. Ryder also reiterated the U.S. ironclad defense commitment to South Korea after Pyongyang began reinstalling guard posts and heavy weapons along the demilitarized zone. Tensions rise on the Korean peninsula as North Korea is arming its soldiers at the inter-Korean border in its latest move to nullify the military agreement with the South. South Korea warns of retaliation should the North take any provocative actions. Shin Yeon has more.
Pyongyang is reportedly arming its soldiers who are deployed at Panmunjom Joint Security Area. Yonhap News reported on Tuesday, citing multiple South Korean and American military sources, that since the latter half of last week, North Korean soldiers have been carrying sidearms while on duty. South Korean soldiers in the area remain unarmed. The United Nations Command, which is in charge of the Joint Security Area, is reportedly weighing options while closely monitoring Pyongyang's moves. Defense Minister Shin Won-sik strongly condemned the North on Tuesday afternoon, saying any careless maneuver that undermines peace is the beginning of ruin. According to the Ministry of National Defense, Shin ordered the military to retaliate decisively if the enemy makes any provocative moves. The JSA is where the historic Panmunjom Declaration between then South Korean President Moon Jae-in and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was unveiled in 2018. To fully implement the declaration, the two sides later reached an inter-Korean military agreement this same year to reduce tension on both sides of the military demarcation line as well as in the Joint Security Area. Since the agreement, soldiers of both sides in Panmunjom went unarmed while on duty. If the North persists in arming its troops in the JSA, it's possible that South Korean soldiers will be ordered to carry firearms.
Our military will continue to closely monitor North Korean moves and take necessary countermeasures.
Pyongyang's decision to arm its soldiers at the JSA came after it began rebuilding guard posts along the inter-Korean border starting late last week and reportedly arming them with heavier weapons. The regime has been actively ramping up its military options after it virtually terminated the inter-Korean military agreement following the South Korean government's decision to partially suspend a clause relating to aerial reconnaissance due to North Korea's launch of a spy satellite. Shin Yeon, Arirang News.
More grim figures on South Korea's population crisis. The number of newly born babies saw the biggest drop for any month of September, with the number of marriages also hitting a record low for that month. Park Gun-woo has the details.
According to data released by Statistics Korea on Wednesday, deaths exceeded births by nearly 10,000 in September. There were around 18,000 births that month, a drop of 14.6% compared to the same month the year before. The figure is the biggest percentage drop recorded both this year and for any September since data was first compiled in 1981. As for the third quarter as a whole, the number of births hovered above the 56,000 line, a drop of around 12% on year, the lowest ever figure for any quarter three. An official from Statistics Korea said a continued downward trend in the number of marriages has been a major factor behind falling birth figures. The number of marriages in September this year dropped 12% on year, once again recording a new low for any September since 1981. Divorces were also down about 8% compared to 2022. There were about 28,000 deaths in September, a slight decrease compared to the month and year before. Statistics Korea said they would investigate the specific reason the number of deaths dropped, as they usually surge comparatively at that time of year. Park Gun-woo, Arirang News.
Business sentiment for the manufacturing industry in November saw a slight rebound amid a recovery in semiconductor prices. According to the Bank of Korea on Wednesday, with an expected increase in the demand for chips alongside a decrease in the prices for raw materials, the business sentiment index for manufacturers in November rose to 70, which is 1 point higher than the month before. However, the BSI for the non-manufacturing firms fell by 2 points. The index measures business sentiment about market prospects with a reading below 100, meaning pessimists outnumber optimists. South Korea's shipbuilding industry is expected to place second in global orders this year, with China taking top spot for the third year in a row. According to shipping analysis firm Clarkson Research on Wednesday, South Korea's shipbuilders secured a combined 9.6 million compensated gross tonnage, 39% less than the last year. Chinese shipbuilders surpassed that with 21.9 million compensated gross tonnage, down just 6% on year. Korean firms being selective about orders is analyzed to be one of the main causes, with shipbuilders focusing on green technology and high-value eco-friendly ships with alternative fuels. People with diabetes need to constantly monitor their blood sugar levels. That's usually done by drawing blood. But now there's a new sensor that can make the process a lot more convenient just by being attached to the skin. Jin has the details.
It is crucial for patients with diabetes to constantly monitor their glucose levels. And it has always been an inconvenience for them to have to prick their fingers for blood sugar readings. But a team of Korean researchers have developed a new glucose sensor. Weighing only 14 milligrams, the adhesive has a microneedle that's less than 1 millimeter long. The wearable microneedle uses a photopatternable gel electrolyte similar to the technology used in semiconductors that keeps the sensor light and high performance.
We've developed a technology that can automatically shape the strips to the desired areas, and the microneedle sensor can be attached as a single item.
The result is a wearable ultra-thin blood glucose sensor, and its accuracy was tested by using anesthesia on a rat. The rat's glucose level was continuously monitored every 20 minutes over 4 hours, and the results showed the same readings as existing glucometers.
We searched for a platform that could free patients from having to prick their fingers for each glucose level reading, for better quality of life.
The research team added that this new wearable skin adhesive microneedle sensor will allow patients with diabetes to monitor their glucose levels more conveniently and only having to change out the strip every 2 weeks. The latest development has been published in the international journal Device, a sister journal to Cell. Jin, Arirang News.
From K-pop to TV dramas and movies, South Korea has emerged as a new cultural superpowerhouse over the past decade. To discuss the story behind Hallyu, or the Korean wave, and its impact on the nation, our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Eun-ji met with the Ambassador for Cultural Cooperation.
What began with major hits by Korean artists including Psy's 2012 song Gangnam Style and BTS becoming the biggest boy band in the world, the Korean wave, or Hallyu, has undoubtedly taken the world by storm. The country's entertainment industry broke records not only in music but also in film, with the movie Parasite in 2019, then the Netflix show Squid Game in 2021. Netflix even announced earlier this year that it'll invest $2.5 billion in South Korea over the next 4 years to produce Korean TV series and movies. South Korea's ambassador for cultural cooperation explains the real strength of this comes from the Korean people and its history, as well as the country's early adoption of technology.
The history that they went through, the cultural adaptations they made, and the way that they were able to express themselves through song and dance. And I think that with a combination of IT and the YouTube and social media and the connection with their fans overseas has really sort of allowed the Korean wave to be so strong.
As for its impact, she says South Korea has definitely, to a certain extent, been able to gain soft power, or the ability to be able to influence others through attraction rather than coercion or force.
But it's very difficult to measure soft power because it is a soft power. It's not in a matter of dollar signs or the amount of tanks or military, artillery that you have. So it is a difficult power to measure. It is difficult to know how much of an effect it had. But I do think that Korea has soft power.
The Yoon administration has been seeking to expand South Korea's global presence with the concept of a global pivotal state as its foreign policy vision, highlighting its commitment to play a more active role in tackling regional and global challenges. Son says this idea of fulfilling its role in the global community will allow Korean culture to continue to dominate.
I think Korea, in terms of giving back to the world, to being a part of decision-making that leads to a better world, those kind of activities by the Korean government is what will allow Korean culture to be sustainable.
She also says there are many areas in which Korean culture is becoming popular, including food, fashion, and language.
I mean, it is sort of swerving and it's bubbling under the surface in so many different areas that I think it's just exciting to think about where the next big wave will come from.
배은지, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at what's going on in the world now. In India, the 41 construction workers who were trapped in a tunnel for 17 days have been rescued. They are receiving medical checks, but no injuries have been reported. After over 2 weeks of difficulties, each of the workers was extracted one at a time through a pipe 90 centimeters in diameter, which was inserted through the rubble. The 41 men had been trapped in the Silkyara tunnel in northern India's Uttarakhand state after a landslide on November 12th blocked the entrance with debris. The trapped workers survived from supplies of oxygen, medicine, food and water, which were fed through pipes into the tunnel. The wife of Ukraine's military intelligence chief has been reportedly poisoned with heavy metals. A Ukrainian military spokesperson said Mariana Budanova, the wife of Ukraine's spy chief, Lieutenant General Kirilo Budanov, is now being treated in hospital after falling ill. The spokesperson confirmed that several other intelligence agency employees also showed mild symptoms of heavy metals poisoning. 30-year-old Budanova had been feeling ill for a prolonged period of time, and local sources say that she was poisoned through her food. Her husband, Budanov, who leads the main directorate of intelligence of the Ukrainian military, has been highly involved with clandestine operations against Russian forces throughout the war. No statements were made regarding whether Russia was involved in the poisoning. Finland is closing all its road borders with Russia in an attempt to halt a surge of asylum seekers. The Finnish government announced on Tuesday it would close its last road crossing, located in the Arctic Circle, on Thursday night for 2 weeks. It had already recently closed its other 7 road crossings with Russia. 1 rail crossing for freight only will remain open. Helsinki has accused Moscow of deliberately aiding migrants from Morocco, Pakistan and Syria crossing into Finland in retaliation for Finland's closer cooperation with the US and joining of the NATO. The Finnish border guard said that in November some 900 asylum seekers surged into Finland via Russia, an increase from an average of less than 1 per day previously. A passenger jet powered by 100% sustainable aviation fuel has successfully completed a transatlantic flight. The Virgin Atlantic flight flew from London's Heathrow Airport to New York's JFK on Tuesday using fuel made from non-petroleum feedstocks mixed with fuel made from waste corn. This is the first time any commercial airline has completed a long-haul flight running on 100% sustainable aviation fuel. The Boeing 787 didn't carry fee-paying passengers, but Virgin Atlantic founder Richard Branson and UK Transport Secretary Mark Harper were on board. The fuel is hoped to lower the aviation industry's carbon footprint. Kim Si-young, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. It's a freezing Wednesday with cold wave alerts issued in parts of Gangwon-do and Gyeongsang-Pukdo provinces. Meanwhile, dry weather advisory remains in place for East Coast regions. Please take precautionary measures against wildfire. Along with icy temperatures, light wet clouds could be formed in the west, dropping a mix of rain and snow to the west side of the country today. Flurries could be less than 1 centimeter, but freezing temperatures could make roads icy, so please stay safe out there. Seoul and Chuncheon see a high of just 3 degrees this afternoon, Busan at 10 degrees. Much warmer on Jeju Island, topping out at 15 degrees. And there will be more clouds than sunshine today, while air quality will be decent nationwide. Tomorrow morning, we could be seeing the coldest temperatures of this season, with a low of -8 degrees Celsius here in the capital. And it seems like we'll have to wait until Saturday afternoon to dress a bit lighter. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
Tensions have been escalating on the interKorean border lately, since North Korea resorted its guard posts after nullifying the interKorean military agreement. And it had to be its first move, perhaps because of its urgent need for surveillance. Guard posts are critical assets for the North, which lacks other surveillance capabilities like the South, especially at a time when Seoul resumed its drone and airplane surveillance activities as part of its partial suspension of the military agreement over Pyongyang's spy satellite launch. But some experts say that puts the North in a position where it loses more than gains by the launch. Now the North is scrapping further military agreements and arming the demilitarized zone. With corresponding measures likely by the South, tensions could rise at the interKorean border at a level unseen for several years. That is all for today. Thanks for watching.